Hello and welcome to Move Conversations. This is your host Venkat. In this episode, we talk to S. Kumar. Kumar is a fellow IFTN and spent many years in the Indian movie distribution business. He had worked in senior positions in Columbia TriStar, which later became Sony Pictures Entertainment. And in Singapore, he worked on a 13-part series called named Ellaigal for Vasantham. He recently stepped down from a successful stint as senior vice president of Fox Star Studios, a division of Star TV. He has worked in Chennai and Mumbai, two major hubs of Indian cinema, as well as in Singapore. He also worked in West Africa and Middle East before he entered the movie business. Full disclosure, Kumar was a classmate of both my co-producer Mrigank and I when we were students of Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. So Kumar, welcome to Move Conversation Trade Stuff.
Thank you, Venkat.
So let's begin with the start of your career journey in this business. So how did you get started in movie business, and which year was it?
It was, I think it was 1998, if I'm not mistaken. It was a chance meeting. The Sony Pictures Entertainment had got a new MD from outside the industry, Uday Singh. So they were trying to revamp the Indian operations. They were looking at opening an office in Chennai, handling the complete southern market. And they were setting up a new office. So they had come down for an interview to Chennai. And I know Uday Singh before. So I had gone to meet him more as a friend. And their sales director, Kersi Daruwala, happened to be there. So both of them, we just had tea. By end of the conversation, he said, "Why don't you join?" I said, "What? I mean, I know nothing about the movies." He said, "That's why I need you." So that's how it started. I said, "Okay, let me give it a try." It was totally new, and we started off from there, and now it's 22 years. And finally, it's an interesting industry because every product, every movie is a new product. And once it's released, you throw it out and go into the next product, which can happen only in this industry.
In that industry,
So
right?
that's how we got into it.
So what was the Indian movie distribution landscape like when you joined in the late 90s? Did we have many foreign films being released in India those days, and what did you get started with?
See, initially we started with the foreign films, and foreign films at that time were not releasing simultaneously.
Right.
They used to release delayed, partly because it was the print cost and the market was too small for them, and also because of our censor restrictions, where we had to submit a variety review to get the censor done. So all those things. So movies used to get delayed release. Not all movies used to get released. There are certain big movies used to get released. And the landscape was, I mean, it's absolutely lots of individuals doing their own thing, and all exhibitors are individuals. There was no consolidation. So it was a totally unorganized sector in that sense.
Okay.
When
So
we started.
did you get involved in the distribution of English as well as Hindi movies or other Indian languages at that time straight away, or?
No, initially we started with the English movies. But initially what we started dubbing a lot more movies than what used to happen.
Okay.
So most of the bigger movies we started dubbing in Tamil and Telugu. And we created a distribution setup and we started distributing directly. Before that, people used to sell. When you dub it, you sell it to some local printer distributor. But here we set up our own systems. We started dubbing more movies. But 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, we got into Hindi movies.
Right. Interesting that you talked about dubbing, and especially in into Hindi and Tamil and Telugu and so on. I do remember a conversation way back then when you said that the quality of dubbing at that time in India was very good and so on. And what was is that correct? And what was it like? And what was different from rest of the world dubbing at that point of time?
See, the main difference is rest of the world was used to subtitling.
Okay.
India was used to dubbing and watching in their own language in that time, not now. So there already a lot of Hindi movies, even in television, Hindi used to get dubbed in Tamil and Tamil into Hindi. So there is a lot of experience over there. So that's the reason they were used to dubbing. So obviously they were dubbing artists who specialized in it. So the quality was good, yes. And it has improved a lot from that time to now.
Right.
Now we use
Yeah.
celebrities for dubbing and, things have changed a lot.
True. I mean, those days I remember having watched some of the English movies when I used to travel into Russia and so on. And the English dialogues used to run in the background, and the Russian, you could hear both the Russian dialogues in the foreground, and you could hear both, and it was like terrible compared to in India, where some of them were pretty good with lip syncing also, right? Despite the change in
Yeah.
the language and so on and so forth. Oh, glad. So did you get involved in deciding which foreign films will be released in India, and like which will not be, and how are those decisions or selections made?
See, the EC decisions are first made in the head office, which we
Okay.
won't release. But
Okay.
the movies which we release, South is a major market for Hollywood. So in the
For
olden,
Hollywood movies.
yes,
Okay.
always, and even now even more. So they always used to send in those days print. So
Okay.
first the Bombay office will see it and send the print to Chennai.
Mm-hmm.
So they will decide for rest of the India. So for South, they will wait for our inputs from the Chennai office. So then
Okay.
it's a joint decision. Yes, this movie can be released. This movie can be dubbed. Then the decision is made.
So in your role, did you get involved in getting clearance from the Censor Board of India and so on? Was it part of your portfolio, or somebody else was already
Not in
doing
Sony,
those
but
things?
in Foxstar, it is my portfolio throughout. From the beginning, all Hindi, English, Tamil, all of them.
Right.
But not so much in Sony.
Okay.
But yeah, since you're talking about censor,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I know that everybody was talking about Pehla Nilani, so strict censor and all that. But I will give a lot of credit to him for bringing transparency, digitizing the whole process, removing the middlemen and removing corruption.
Okay.
That part of it, he has done a great job, at least in the Bombay Censor Office.
So in the past, you would even when you decide on a movie, you would also probably take factor the censor decisions and influences when you select a movie, right?
Uh,
In the past,
Even now,
even now, okay.
yeah. Because see, a censor is so subjective. It depends
Right,
on the panel at that time.
right.
So
Okay,
just to give you an example, when Kingsman, we censored the English version. That panel cleared it with one or two just cut some mutes or very minor. But when we went for the Hindi dub version censor, the panel has changed and we had 23 audio cuts.
my God.
So it
Right.
depends on perception. Ideally, it should work as a certification and not as a censor. It should be certifying A or UA or whatever. But unfortunately, it's not happening.
But like, look, you and I cut our teeth in exports from India, and we know that we had customs officer prevention, right? So the mindset was
Yeah.
stopping, right? So it is
Yeah.
not only like people may know about censor board and like pick on them, but you and I know that like it was pervasive in many things, right? In many other
Yes.
countries, you and I, having worked abroad, also know that it is export promotion is the word used, and here was prevention. So
Yeah.
we understand the mindset. So let's get back to the distribution part of movies in India. So are there seasonalities in movie distribution? Like, do they align it with summer holidays or festival holidays and so on and so forth?
It is that like in any other market.
Mm-hmm.
But in India, there are about 1,000 movies made. Everybody cannot get that 3-4 holidays.
Right.
3-4 holidays, Eid is Salman, then
Right.
Amir for December, and Shah
Okay.
Rukh for, Diwali. So it's all like kind of others were having a problem. So off
Right.
late, what is happening is, in fact, we were in Fox responsible for it. We release movies almost in every month, and we
Okay.
have shown that it can do 100 crore plus. So it's a case-to-case basis. It's a choice of coming with a lot of competition. If you're going on a holiday, you're going to have Tamil, you're going to have Telugu, which are dubbed in Hindi, and maybe so there will be a lot of competition. So do you want to come with that and take the higher footfall, or do you want to come in a a lesser crowded space and get more shows and maybe a continuation, better continuation. So it's a
And that
case
also
to case
worked, right?
basis. It worked for us in every month of the year we have proved it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
The first 100 crore movie of Varun Dhawan, that was in February. Then we have done in March, Jolly LLB. So
Okay.
we have done every time and goes, but there is certain kind of movies like a Prem Ratan Payo, Diwali works for it.
Right.
So it's
summer
a
holidays
very,
is good or bad?
summer holidays is good, but summer holidays we have a lot of competition from the Hollywood movies.
Ah,
So,
okay.
so
Yeah,
that's so it's
yeah.
always you need to take a call depending on the availability. There are only 52 weeks and there are 1,000 plus movies. So.
Right. We started with distribution, and so far we talked about that. So, but I think we should, for most of us to understand your industry better, we should step back a little bit from the time a movie is completed. What are the major steps in movie business till it becomes a box office hit? Feel free to include everything. Poster design, making trailers, use of television, social media, celebrity interviews, whatever it is, whatever else is important, part of the marketing efforts, the way it's done in India, everything that goes through that, like just help us understand that better.
See, first, once we see the completed first cut of the movie by the marketing, distribution, all the teams, then we sit down together and start working towards a plan, the possible release date. And release dates also might influence your marketing efforts.
Right.
And then the first look is extremely important nowadays. Okay. Because the choice is so much with OTTs and this. A movie is rejected in the first look or in the first trailer, it's very difficult to bring it back on. So the first look, a lot of effort goes into that, a lot of discussions, a lot of testing, and then finally you come out in the first look. And the first trailer, digital, especially, is even more challenging because in the cinema, once you start the trailer, you have no choice but to watch the full trailer.
Correct.
But in a digital, if you don't get them in the first few seconds, they may just cut off and go.
Exactly.
So even the design of the trailer or online, it's extremely important. So once you get the first one right, then we get into the next stages. And nowadays, the windows is previously used to start marketing a movie 10 weeks before, 8 weeks before. Now it is like 4 weeks is good enough. And people don't wait for too long to remember. So it's short and sweet. And then you focus, depending on the holiday, depending on the movie genre, and depending on the target audience who you think it works. Marketing and distribution work very closely together to see which markets we should identify, which markets we should go after. Should we go after the digital, which is the major medium right now? But to certain kind of movies, a television audience works. So the decision is taken, and then we keep on, fine-tuning it till the release.
Right. In the past, especially in the South where you got started, giant size posters were a big deal. Are they still relevant? Are they still important?
No, they're absolutely irrelevant. I can release a movie without a poster. Most of the Hollywood movies, we do it. In fact, these are the things which we did in Sony, a lot of experimentation, which became successful because we didn't know about the industry.
Okay.
When a movie, I can tell you a classic example of Sixth Sense and Runaway Bride.
Right.
I said, why the hell we put a poster for this movie? Nobody's going to come through poster for this movie. So we did not put any poster in Chennai. And the whole market guru said, what are you doing? It's foolishness and all that. And it worked big time. I said, rather put that money into at that time.
Paper. The newspaper ads and promotion.
Newspaper ads. Not anymore. Now we would have put it in digital. So those days we put it in the newspaper. It made a difference and then it got accepted. So
that's interesting.
So this poster is important, but again, digital online. Your physical poster is more of, again, all the multiplexes we send the electronic poster, which is a digital poster, which is, moves around in the screens. And to some extent, in the smaller cities, the postering is still done, but it's not that important. But sometimes you do it to, in the very small towns, and in the B towns, and more because the trade is 100, 200-year-old trade. So the mind is set, "Arey, poster nahi dala to kya hoga?" So, you
So
do it for
just do it for the
please,
sake of it, right? Check
to
the
please
boxes.
to please the director, actor. This somebody will say, "I didn't see the poster here." So it's come to that. Right now, it's digital mainly, which works big time in India.
And we see a lot of these pre-movie or the movie we release week interviews on all these TV channels and social media and all. How important are they now?
Uh,
All those gaming programs, competitions, etc., etc. You see
yeah.
them.
See, this is in our industry. There is nothing in concrete. Whether it works or not, there are two different points of view.
Okay.
Now, the lot of people do feel now, like me, that these are okay. You have time and value, do it.
Hmm.
What is more important is getting your trailer, this online material right. I think that is the most important part. These are closer to the release. To keep the awareness on, you can do it. But a decision to watch or not is made by the material and friends and family internationally. All the results it show that it is online and friends and family, and they decide. Today you cannot influence them that easily. They've decided I'm going to watch it or not watch it. Unlike our times where this was the only outlet, there's no other entertainment, so that was
Right.
different.
Right. So you often, today, a couple of times you mentioned the importance of trailers. I get a sense of it. So tell us, what are the criteria, that are used to select a trailer, select the visuals in a trailer, what scenes get selected, how a decision is made, what trailer is to be used.
That is the most important part. So it takes a lot of time. Marketing department with the director, with everyone, we get into a brainstorming. Like, what should the trailer say? How do you hold them and make them want to see the movie? So a lot of different cuts are made. Sometimes they use different agencies to give their cuts, and the director is of course involved. And then finally, a call is made. It's a very, very difficult decision.
Do you make
We do
multiple
some internal
versions?
testing. Yeah, definitely. We make multiple versions. We do the testing.
Do testing as in focus group testing?
We do focus group testing sometimes in-house also. But focus group, yes, it is done for bigger movies. And then finally you arrive at it. But all this for Hindi. For English, we have ready-made. But they do have lots of, even Hollywood makes a lot of different versions. This would appeal to Asia market. You'll have some 12, 13. You can choose from there. Or they have toolkits from there. You can choose and make your own within the limited parameters. So it takes a lot of time and effort, and it's extremely important.
And you would get involved in all these things, would you?
Yes. It's all the team, me, marketing, production, everyone gets involved, and we take as much input as possible. But finally, the decision has to be made by the director needs to approve also most of the times, because he has to be part of it.
Right. Any difference in the steps if it was an English movie? A lot of what you described, well, most of it was for Indian movie in granular detail. Notable differences if it's for an English movie. Apart from that, some material will come from there.
Yeah. See, the notable difference of late in the last few years, they've started giving a little more leverage to us to make our own trailer from the inputs available to suit our market.
They didn't before. Okay.
No, before it wasn't there. Before, these are the accepted ones, take it or leave it. Choose from this. Now we have an option sometimes to create our own and say, this is how we want it. So that has been given. And also like subtitling. In India, we subtitle all the English movies in English. When we first told them, they were like, kind of, what the hell?
English to English.
Yeah,
what?
English, what the hell?
Yeah.
And later, now, in fact, they came back to me a couple of years back. Why didn't you do the trailers also? So that's how things have changed.
Yeah. They don't understand that for the way they speak English, we need English to English translation. So, one more thing that we often see in the context of, before a movie is released or at the time of releasing a movie is film songs, Indian film songs. So there's there are songs which have been released in advance and so on. So do film songs feature in your marketing and distribution, as a strategy? We talked about
See, not in distribution.
trailers. Okay.
In marketing for certain kind of movies, it doesn't have as much importance as before.
Okay.
But
So that has changed.
Yeah, that has changed. But from a monetizing point of view, it adds value, so it helps. And for a certain kind of movies, it works.
Mm-hmm.
But for a certain kind of movies, for a niche, I don't need a song to market it. For a Badla, those kind of movies. So it depends on the movie to movie. So the importance of song to set up a movie has definitely come down, though it's not totally out.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So some commercial movies, it does help. Oh.
Right. So, you had talked about some of the changes, as in specific questions, from the time that you started out, or the changes that have taken place in the industry. But let's highlight a few. So what have been the major changes, if you step back and look at it, what are the major changes that you have seen in the movie distribution business over the last few decades? Top 4 or 5 which are important and significant in your view. I know some of you covered, but if there is something else that you would like to add or highlight.
The major difference in distribution, when we started off, it used to be prints. And since prints are expensive and sending the prints, collecting it back, the logistics was painful. So the releases were much, it's not as wide as it is today. So the major change is the digitization of the print is a major change. Then, of course, the consolidation on the exhibition space, which is the coming in of multiplexes. So with multiplexing, lot of different contents have started getting accepted, which is another major change. These are the two major, I would say, milestone changes. And the third one is happening right now with OTT.
OTT, yep.
So what I feel is the positive side of OTT, the audience are used to different kinds of contents and they're used to watching it with subtitles. So now they will be able to accept a different kind of, not just a mass action movie, a different kind of a Tamil movie with subtitle in the Hindi market. I think that is the change which is going to happen now. Just to give you a small example, Master, the Vijay's movie, which released recently. I was talking to the PVR programmer. He was just saying, normally what they do is they release one screen, the Tamil version in the northern cities, and another 2-3 screens will be the Hindi dub version. But this time, there was a lot of demand for the original version with subtitles. Okay. So they changed from second day onwards the Tamil with subtitle to more than one screen and reduce the number of Hindi. So which is a welcome change in a way. If it is, we'll have to see how it pans out. It'll take time. But I think this is another major change which is happening right now. But the two major changes, digitization, multiplex. These are the major game changers.
And they have enabled you to distribution far and wide, same time releases and so on.
Far and wide, and also releasing almost all the Hollywood movies. The smaller movies also can get released. Because you have smaller audiences, quality cinemas which can bring in family audiences even in smaller towns. It has made a huge difference.
So given these things happening, do you see some consolidations either happening or likely to come in?
The consolidations are already happening, as we can see in multiplexing. It's already happened. And even in studios, there are a few studios are getting stronger and stronger. It is happening and it will continue to happen. On the production side, it is still not fully on, but I think it's a question of time. Because smaller producers may not be able to survive. So it is finally going to be not exactly monopolies, but more of oligopolies. A few big players controlling the scene is already happening and it will continue to happen.
Piracy is another issue that often talked about in Asia, in many other markets. So what are the situation like in 2000 to 2010 period and in the subsequent decade, and what has changed for better, for worse?
See, it is the digitization coming in piracies, and with the fantastic qualities of cameras and phone and all that, obviously the quality piracy has gone up drastically. But having said that, also digitization has also helped you in releasing the movies wider and reaching the audience faster. So it is both positives and negatives. But yes, piracy is still a major issue. But there are two kinds of piracies. There are one set of people who are the geeks who are anyway going to watch on their laptop, do whatever you want to do. I see them as not an audience lost because they're not going to come to cinema anyway. There's the other kind of audience which, given a chance, would like to see in some other format. So that's where the windowing comes in. I think the windowing needs to come in, and a quality product should be available in some format for the honest, the movie audience in some format available. If I have some format available, then I may not go to it.
Correct.
So the windowing has to come down. So the windowing has to get stabilized around that. So it's available somewhere.
Correct. I get that. I think that's an interesting point, and I think industry should consider that. Right. So Kumar, how are the overseas markets evolving for Indian cinema? Like some of the Indian superstars have huge fan following outside India as well. So how are the distributors reaching out to this fan base?
The overseas market is still limited to the Indian diaspora. Okay. It's not like we have reached the Hollywood or we are eating into their market. We still reach the Indian diaspora. The major three markets are still UK, US, and Middle East. Middle East and US are growing markets. And UK is actually coming down. It's a little old market. It's the old Indians. So even when it comes to a movie like a Kabir Singh would do well in US, but UK is more of a Rajshri or Karan Johar. So it is like that. And Middle East actually mirrors India.
Okay.
This three together gives you 75 to 80% of the market is this. Still. So, but it is growing.
70 to 80% of the overseas market collections.
Overseas market, obviously. This three.
Okay.
And and also generally what happens is your bigger stars, bigger movies, well-known movies, they work better in the overseas. But with the young crowd coming into US is actually accepting a little more of differential movies, the multiplex movies, as we call it. That works better in US.
Right. So, I noticed that like three things that came to top of my mind in addition to these markets about overseas markets were Rajinikanth and Japan, emerging China market where some of the Indian movies have become successful. I've had students from China talking to me about some of the American movies and so on and so forth. Three Idiots and stuff like that. They relate, could relate to it, as well as Southeast Asian market. Here itself, all right, in where we are based out of Singapore, Malaysia, and a lot of huge fan following for many of the stars. So what you're saying is they are not they don't come in the radar screen in terms of collections and things like that?
No, not China is a separate cup of tea altogether. Japan is a one-off case. Rajini, Muthu worked and this. These are all things which happen once in a while. Southeast Asia is again Indian diaspora. So that is clear. China, yes, Amir Khan is big there, no doubt about that. But again, that market, nobody knows when you will be able to get a date because everything is controlled by the Chinese, the one company. So you don't know whether it will release, if it releases when, what. So you cannot plan based on China. China is icing on the cake if it happens. It clicks. It's huge. It could be bigger than India when it clicks. The market is huge.
Right. But Southeast Asia, don't say. Yeah, go ahead.
Southeast Asia is still not so big. Tamil maybe, yes, but Hindi, it's not so big. Okay.
Right. No, you'll break the hearts of many Malaysians and Malays, who follow, Shah Rukh Khan and other
Yeah,
actors. Like when you say that, like no, it's only Indian diaspora, poor thing. I mean, they're so sincere and they follow. And there are previous generations who sing Mohammed Rafi songs, like tens of thousands of songs and things
yeah,
like
yeah. That is true, Venkat. But if you
that.
look at in Malaysia, the
Right.
top 10 movies, Tamil
Right.
movies come in,
Yeah.
but no Hindi movie comes in a top 10
True. I
because
agree. I
Tamil,
agree.
there is a Tamil population.
It's true.
Hindi is still limited to that certain things, but it is the main city, so you talk about it.
True. So, what are the challenges in distributing Indian movies, outside India, and the distribution industry abroad may be structured differently? So, is it easier? Is it more difficult? How is US market different from UK market, from Middle East market, and so on?
See, the distribution is actually not so different
Okay.
all over the world. It's kind of same. Only thing what has changed is you normally used to have that Indian distributors doing it. But with Foxstar coming in, our US and UK is distributed by Fox.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And Middle East is by the Fox distributor with us. So we broke that chain of a few people holding that market. Now it is open to the studios also. So now other studios also, the bigger movies, they do it themselves. So they have the reach of the Hollywood for even for the Indian movies. It's not that it's worked big time that every movie works, but at least you have that. So that is a change. Otherwise, every market is more or less multiplexed and going through kind of a similar kind of a digitized and wider releases. It's going through a similar kind of flow like in the Indian market.
Thank you for joining us in yet another episode of Move Conversations. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to the Move Conversations YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get notifications of new episodes. Thank you very much. Till I see you in the next episode. Thank you very much. Have a great day.